Mr. Fakhrul Alam has been really promoting the palm oil for more than 30 years. It's a career that has spanned 3 decades, and he has been with the Malaysian Palm Oil Council since 1995 and has been responsible for the Bangladesh and Nepal markets. And he has also worked as regional manager for Myanmar and Sri Lanka. So he is somebody who is a real expert for palm oil in the entire South Asian region. So it will be really good to have his perspective, not just for Bangladesh, but as and when needed, I think we could also use his insights for other markets. Prior to joining MPOC, Mr. Alam also worked for Bangladesh Sugar and Food Industries Corporation for more than 12 years. And he is currently also a member of the Dhaka Chamber of Commerce and of BMCCI. With that, I would like to invite Mr. Fakhrul Alam to give his keynote address for this session and help us understand the consumption trends for edible oil and fats in Bangladesh and the contribution of palm oil in shaping. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yas. Thank you, Tansri, my ex-boss, while I was in Malaysian Palm Oil Council for a quite long time. And it's my pleasure to see him again in this webinar. Thank you, Tansri, again. And also thank you to Mr. Yas for a nice and comprehensive introduction about me. I am not that big. I'm a small fellow. Okay. In my presentations, I will try to give you a picture about the import as well as consumption trend of Bangladesh. Bangladesh is now a lower middle income group, and having its GDP as 2,122, which is highest in the subcontinent. And its continuous GDP growth is plus 6% despite this COVID. You can see here the brief on the oils and fat scenario of the country. Bangladesh annually consumes about 3 million plus tons of oils and fat, and the country and the palm oil is the leading edible oil in this country since 2003. Bangladesh is a price-sensitive market, and the major segment of the population are from lower income group. Accordingly, palm oil, this competitive price of palm oil compared to other two oils, namely soybean and the mustard oil, palm oil, Bangladesh brought a significant change in the per capita consumption of oils and fat, which was only 7.5 kg, that is the 20.5 gram per day in the 2003. Now it is 18.4 kg, that is about 51 gram per day. And it has been possible because of competitive price of palm oil. In this slide, you may have the input figure, year-wise input figure of different oils. And indigenous production is not sufficient, which is only 250 to 280,000 tons. So mostly the Bangladesh is dependent on import, and the import is increasing in pace with consumption. The increase of GDP income as well as per capita purchasing power, the consumption of oils and fat also increasing, and to cope up with the increased consumption of oils and fat, import is also increasing. You can see in the until the 2018 there was a smooth growth of import, but in 2019 there was a slight decline. It is because of carried forward stock of 2018, but in 2020 it is the pandemic. It is because of COVID pandemic, and that has and the total input declined by about 1.6% compared to previous year. In this slide, I tried to plot the consumption trend. You could see here from the 2015 to 2019 there is a smooth growth, except the 2020. 2020 the consumption declined because of pandemic, and the decline was just worst sufferer is the palm oil, because all the four major sector of palm oil, namely homestead consumption, shortening industries, food processing industries, as well as hotel and restaurant, HoReCa sector, all were closed for more than 1.5 years. And that has impacted the consumption of palm oil badly, and finally total oils and fat. Here I have plotted the different consumption trend of different oils and fat since 2016. You can see here palm oil is the leading oil in the consumption pattern. And the per capita consumption, you can see the per capita consumption is increasing gradually. Last 5 years, per capita consumption, which I just plotted here for the 5 years only, which is 15.3 to 18.8 kg, 18.9 kg, 0.8 kg, and the 18.9 was the highest in the 2019, and then the slightly decline. And now in this slide, you can see where the palm oil goes. Major consumption sector is the household consumption as the cooking oil, and the second largest consumer is the shortening and banaspati industry, and followed by food processing industries and the HoReCa. Now in this slide, I have highlighted the issues and challenges for the market expansion as well as sustainable palm oil share in the market. Beside the image issue, because palm oil is suffered from image compared to other two oil, that is soybean and mustard oil, and the new issue has been added, that is the increasing import of oilseeds. And among the two oilseeds, one is soybean and one is mustard and rapeseed oil. Rapeseed oil is not that much challenge because of its high price, but the soybean, import of soybean is a really challenge. Soybean, import of soybean is exempted from the 15% value-added tax, and as a result, the oil obtained from imported soybean comparatively cheaper, and that is a challenge for palm oil. When the price difference between the refined soybean and the refined palm oil is narrow, people goes to buy, people prefers to buy the soybean oil because of its image. So it is a growing challenge for palm oil, and the import of soybean is growing day by day. In the year 2020, the total import of soybean was 2.3 million ton, which was 38% higher compared to 2019. And you can guess the growth of import of soybean. There are two reasons import of soybean. One is the poultry and cattle sector, as well as fishery. There is a great demand of meal. And then the soybean oil. Soybean oil can be obtained about 18% on an average oil extraction rate, and that gives the oil obtained from the soybean are also exempted from the value-added tax. So there is a price difference of 15% between the import of palm oil in bulk and the oil and soybean oil obtained locally from the soybean crushing factory. So that's a big challenge for palm oil marketing. People are getting soybean oil almost near to the price level of palm oil. And when the price level is, as I mentioned earlier, when the price level between the refined soybean and the refined palm oil is narrow, people goes to buy for soybean oil because of its perception. So how we can challenge these issues and how to sustain the palm oil market share in this market? We need to give effort need to give effort to increase the interaction between the palm oil supplier and the local palm oil importer, address the negative perception about palm oil through the integration of promotional print media campaign and social media activity. Nowadays, social media activity is very effective. So the intensity of social media presence to be increased. And then another problem, there is a limited number of palm oil brand in the market. And in the shelf, palm oil brands are not visible. In the Hindi, there is a phrase, proverb, जो देखता है वो बिकता है. Palm oil brand are not seen in the shelf of the retailer. So all the shelves are full with the palm oil, soybean oil brand. So the people naturally incline towards the soybean oil. And then the fourth is to increase the strength of palm oil lobby. We need to have a good lobbying towards palm oil. As for example, present this tariff discrepancy. We need to remove the tariff discrepancy of the import of soybean oil. This 15% VAT, at least the oil which is obtained from the imported soybean, that has to be brought under the 15% value-added tax. Then there will be fair competition between the refined palm and the refined soybean. Otherwise, the import of soybean will continue to grow further and further. Now I will look at some of the facts on palm oil. Next two slides will discuss about the facts on palm oil. Per gram of palm oil, like other vegetable oil, provide 9 kilocalorie of energy. In the Bangladesh, presently, we just presently on an average per head calorie intake is 2,200 kilocalorie, and of that about 450 kilocalorie comes from the oil, with the consumption of about 51 gram per day of edible oil. So, and the palm oil is a major share of the daily intake of oils and fat. So the palm oil plays a good role in providing the daily calories to its population. Palm oil also a rich source of pro-vitamin A as well as vitamin E. Palm oil is a balanced edible oil containing equal amount of saturated and unsaturated fatty acid, and it is very conducive in the preparing of local food. That's why the people like the palm oil in their daily consumption. And then the other benefits I have discussed here, trans fat free, and it is a highly discussing issue nowadays, even in Bangladesh. And the shortening, as I mentioned earlier, in Bangladesh, shortening industry consumes about 400,000 tons of palm oil every year, and the shortening and fats produced from the palm oil are the trans fat free, as well as palm oil is non-GMO, so it is a safe oil for the people. Palm oil is rich in vitamin, as I mentioned earlier, rich in vitamin A and E. Per acre yield of palm oil is highest among all the vegetable oils. A study by the International Union of Conservation of Nature found that palm oil contribute almost 40% of the current global oils and fat, occupying only about 5.5% of total global oil group area, which is the least as compared to other edible oil. Palm oil is the only vegetable oil that has a sustainable certification program by state bodies like the Indonesian Sustainable Palm Oil ISPO and the Malaysian Sustainable Palm Oil MSPO, which are exemplary measures towards fighting climate change. About 80% of the palm oil produced globally is used for food. Presently, global production of palm oil is about 70 million ton, and the total production of oils and fat is 260 million tons. What is the potential? Bangladesh is the 8th largest populous country in the world and third in Asia. So the consumption of oils and fat will continue to grow because of the population. Besides, it is a fast-growing economy on an average of plus 5% annual GDP, which is contributing in the increased per capita income as well as per capita purchasing power, resulting continuous growth in consumption of oils and fat with an annual growth rate of 7 to 12%. Insufficient and stagnant indigenous production of oils and fat. We have limited land. We cannot spare any further land for the production of oilseed. Accordingly, we need to be dependent on import. And with the increase of consumption, import will continue to grow. So the Bangladesh, in the next slide, I'll show how the import will grow in the future years. Palm oil is a major edible oil in this country 2003, and it is very acceptable oil, especially to the lower segment of population, who constitute about 70% of the population of 165 million people. And the oil is very conducive in preparing the local dishes and everyday curry. Palm oil is very suitable for preparing the everyday curries like the fish curry, meat curry, etc., etc. Increasing uses of palm oil in the food sector, which is increasing rapidly with the growth of food processing industries. With the economic growth, food habits are being changing. So the people are dependent on more and more on the processed food. So the food processing industries are growing, who are one of the major consumer of palm oil. So here I have plotted the projection until that 2025. Here is you can see here, import of seedless is not the challenge for palm oil. The challenge is soybean oil obtained from the import of soybean, which is growing, and it is expected that it will reach over 3 million in the 2025, and it may be more because of substantial growth of consumption of the soybean meal in the poultry, fisheries, and the cattle feed sector, which is also growing because of demand. So we need to focus on this issue to just eliminate the tariff discrepancy on the import of palm oil and the soybean oil obtained locally from imported soybean oil. If we can neutralize this issue, definitely palm oil growth will be further high, and it will be reach by 2 million ton in the 2030. So this is the present tariff structure. You can see here there is no duty on the import of soybean seed, not at all. But soybean oil, which is imported in the seedless view, and the palm oil, which is imported in RBD or in the semi-refined or in the crude oil, that bears 15% value-added tax. So that's why the palm oil is unable to compete with the soybean oil obtained locally from the imported soybean. So this is the last slide of my presentation. Then thank you.